Hello, my lovely audience. Welcome to another video. So then, welcome to What If Deku had the quirk carrion. Sorry, I'm just excited. Oh, in case you're wondering, Carrion is one of my most favorite games in the reverse horror industry. And it's one of the only games in the reverse horror industry, but we won't talk about that bit. Now, this was requested to me in a roleplay document. So, how the fuck do you expect me not to do this? Like, shit. We all know my, aptitude for darker subjects, so it's only natural I would instantly fall in love with so much the idea of this. But with the fact that it's, was given to me in a roleplay format, like, I could just not. I could not stop myself from doing this. So, let us begin with the what if. Now, we all know that effect that happens whenever Muzan or one of the upper moons gets PTSD from Yurichi. Anyone remember that? Yeah. That effect, we start our what if off with that effect. And then a small boy, green hair, who's, well, in front of his father. His father's kneeling to the ground. As well, his father would pat him on the head and say, "Look, Izuku, I won't be able to stay with you much longer. And, well, if I'm being honest, your mother's getting rid of you." Izuku's like, "What?" She's getting rid of you. She's having me deported back over to the States, and, yeah. His father would take off his hat and put it on Izuku's head. This is like when Izuku's 6. So, yeah, I'm getting deported. You're getting sold. Do me a favor, please. And Yurichi PTSD effect. Well, effect of getting Yurichi PTSD. To Izuku when he's 4. He's playing with a bunch of kids. One has pink skin and pink hair, another has spiky blonde hair, another has spiky black hair, but he won't shut up about dyeing his hair red. And, well, just essentially imagine all the little class of 1A. Because I like salt on an open wound, yes, they are all childhood friends, because why the fuck not? Then, we go ahead and Yurichi PTSD effect. We cut to a girl with hair. Oh, my cats! With hair down to her thighs. Her hair goes, well, white into black, I believe. At least that's the colors, I think, in order. Maybe it's black to white. I think it's white to black. She's curled up into a ball at, like, she's leaning against a wall. As Izuku would just stroll up to her, he's wearing, like, a fucking fedora. The same hat his father gave him. It's a fedora. He's wearing a fucking fedora. They're both in, like, they both have collars on their necks, and, well, yeah, they're both in, like, white uniforms. Remember, this is, like, when they're 7. So, yeah, they've been at the place where Izuku was sold to for about a year now, at least Izuku. Izuku would reach out his hand and introduce himself as, "Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya, you want to be friends?" The girl would just kind of take his hand and slowly nod. Izuku would, like, excitedly ask her, "What's your name?" "My mother never gave me a name." "Oh, well, maybe we can come up with a name for you. I'm not good at naming things. What about you?" "I'm not good at that either. Sorry if you can't hear my voice." "Well, I'll just call you by your serial number until we can figure out a name for you. So, what's your serial number?" 682. "Oh, yeah, I'm Izuku, and mine's 777. I guess, you can call me that until, well, we figure out a name for you. The girl would nod and shake his hand. Time skip. Well, Yorichi PTSD effect. Izuku is now strapped down to a piece of metal as multiple syringes is being inserted into him, and you can hear him screaming and crying as his nerves light on fire. Yorichi PTSD effect. Back to, well, Izuku's father and him, when he put his hat on Izuku. So, his father would say, I need you to do me a favor, Izuku. Well, life will get tough. Life will get sad. And eventually your dream of becoming a hero will die. When it does, his father would begin smiling. Okay, so shadows were covering his father's face. But then his teeth, pearly white, would just start, would expose themselves. His face is still covered by shade. He just is showing off his giant-ass shark teeth. They look jagged and like they could rip a man to shreds. He would start smiling as well. One of his eyes would turn to a yellow spiral. Kind of a yellow and goldish, with a little bit of red type of spiral. As he would say, rip them all to shreds. Slaughter and kill. Make me proud and be the monster you are. Cut back to Izuku. He is screaming in agony as, bones would begin jutting out of his body. And, a tentacle would form, out of his shoulder. As that tentacle would just fly and impale a man in a white coat. As Izuku, who's still screaming, he would begin pulling himself forwards, as he would begin pulling so hard that he would start ripping off the muscles of his hand. As he would rip off both of his hands, blood would drip as more tentacles would violently burst out of his back, blood splattering everywhere. The doors to, the room Izuku was in would shut as one of the scientists would run up to it and start banging. Izuku, in kind of a frenzied haze, his skin would begin, pulling off as more muscle would just begin moving under his skin and bursting from it. Think like muscular. You know how he looks when he activates his quirk and muscles begin emerging from his skin? Imagine that! As well, Izuku would rip his feet off of, he would yank at his feet, ripping both of them off, as his hands and his feet would fall to the ground. He would step forward, standing on stumps, as his teeth would grow in size, and his eye would go spiral, just like his father. And before you ask, yes, there was a woman with a spiral eye in another What If of mine. And yes, there is lore behind that. There is. But I don't feel like disclosing it. Figure it out yourselves. Yeah, so Izuku would begin freaking the fuck out. As well, two of his tentacles would lodge themselves in another scientist's back. Both in his back, just up on the lower and upper parts, as he would be ripped in half, and Izuku would hold him above his head like some kind of watermelon or something you would crack open No, he would hold him above his head like a coconut as his blood would drip down Izuku's throat. His intestines just sort of are the only things connecting his body together. His upper and lower intestines. As, well, from the outside, instead of scientists are looking in, a man would run in front of the glass and bang it as he would be torn limb from limb. Blood would splatter on the glass. Yoriichi PTSD effect. Yes, I'm doing that. So then, Yoriichi PTSD. This right here, or this. Like, not the human, the mass that's shaped like a human. The flesh, not the guy in a mummy. The mass of flesh shaped like a human. It's kind of just on 682's lap. Just kind of taking a nap as she's just looking at him and patting his head. Quite sad at, well, how things have turned out. Time skip. Set of men are in a room. Well, a group of high-ranking officials are sat in a room, as they have a few case files on the desk. One would start the meeting, as he would say, "Alright, everyone, so, as we all know, the longest-lived subjects of the first generation, 777 and 682, what the fuck are we doing with them?" One of them would just kind of shrug like, "I don't know. You're the one who wanted to start this shit show. He's killed Terry." It was a bold decision to sacrifice Terry to 777. Well, now 777 can go invisible like the fucking Predator. Touché. Like, seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, one in the back would say, as he just puts his hand over his head. You turned a little boy into a sentient mass of flesh hell-bent on slaughtering us all. Said mass of flesh is hyper-sadistic. He would throw down a picture of Terry. You can imagine what Terry looks like however you want. Hung by his own intestines. Terry, ripped Terry, with a hole in his stomach, hung by his own intestines, whilst his arms and legs have been brutally ripped off, and are in front of him with the writing on the ground, "Come and get him." Like, everyone would just kind of collectively pick up a bucket or a trash can and throw up in it, as the guy would continue. So then, let's see what we've done here. We've created a sentient mass of flesh capable of going invisible like the Predator, installing itself inside of people like a parasite and controlling them like a fucking flesh Gundam. Like a fucking flesh Gundam. It's capable of transforming into any human it desires, or any human shape it desires, because we gave him an octopus janitor. Yeah, in the original comment, it was, due to a specialized parasite and fungus that he is able to turn into a human. That doesn't make sense in my opinion, so octopus janitor. Octopus are able to change color and shape, so octopus janitor mixed with another janitor with a quirk that makes it so he doesn't feel hatred. Those two combined just allowed Izuku to transform into whatever the fuck human he wants. So let's continue. He can turn into whatever human shape he wants. He can ram through fucking concrete like a damned rhino. He can turn his body into chitinous bone, which can take fucking tank shells, and he can shoot damned harpoons out of his body. Chitinous harpoons that turn Jeffrey into Swiss fucking cheese. Anyone remember that? I still have pieces. I'm still finding pieces of him in my house. How the fuck did he get into my house? Like, one of the scientists would just begin laughing, like, that was a funny prank. Everyone would just kind of turn to face that scientist, then turn back to the guy who's currently doing the meeting. And don't even get me started on 682. 682 can fucking adapt to literally anything we throw at her. Not to mention the fact, remember the time we reduced her to literally a pile of bones? You know, we fucking incinerated her down to her bones, and she regenerated from that within 15 minutes? Anyone remember that? Because I sure do. Well, 777 did aid with the regeneration process. I don't give a shit if he was the one responsible for the regeneration. You shouldn't be able to come back from fucking bones. Touché. Like, all of them are just having an absolute cadenza, realizing they fucked up. Like, one of the scientists there would just, while high-ranking executives would raise his hand, like, didn't we make 682 for medical purposes, you know, to help combat diseases, and didn't we make 777 for war? Yeah. One of the high-ranking executive, well, the only one who can think right, apparently, would just look at him and say, yeah, we did, but I'm pretty sure 777 is a war criminal. Actually, he is, because he turned my mother... Yes, my fucking mother. He turned my mother into a meat puppet, which he used to stab me with. It was like a fucking demonic possession. Her head was spinning around, like, in her neck. Spinning around in circles. I heard her bones crack, and I heard her screams. He gave her control of her vocal cords, so she can scream in agony as her body is puppeted around like a fucking dress-up doll. Now explain to me how we're gonna use that in war. Explain to me how we're gonna control that. Okay, that's a fair point. That's a very fair point. We fucked up. A man with a scar over his eye, and, well, cheek, and over, like, half of his face, and a yellow, golden spiral eye, who's smoking a cigarette, would just kind of laugh like, dumbasses. Oi, you, like, aided with this. 5 years into the process, as everyone in the first generation except for those two had died. I don't even know what we're doing here, like, medicine? Weapons? Well, we are trying to make the perfect biological weapon and medicine in order to, you know, kind of cure our boss. Think, you know, all for one, the person who brought you in here in the first place. Touché. But I'm going before 682 inevitably breaks out again. Also 777. You know what? That's a good idea. I think I should join you. Like, the only person there who can think right, apparently. Like, the guy who's just using his brain would just kind of walk away with the spiral-eyed guy. As, like, the guy who can think right would just casually get into his car and drive home. Well, the spiral-haired guy with blonde hair. Well, one of his eyes is, you know, white because scar, big old scar. Which is kind of... Oh, sorry, cat. Enter the control room, shoot the security guard through the head, as he would pull a lever, which reads, "Facility shut down." As well, he would do that. And, well, the the facility would shut down. The lights would go red, go from white to red. There's alarms going off. As we cut to a weird type of tube. A weird type of tube with an acid pool around it. Now, this acid pool would begin draining as a woman would begin regenerating from under it. Well, from inside of the pool as it's being drained. Now, the weird type of tube would begin cracking as something would begin moving, something red. As the tube would shatter open and tentacles would burst from it. As well, the tentacles would enter 682. We all know it's 682. If you know SCP, you know that, the acid pool, it's 682. The tentacles would enter her. Not in that way, you perverts. Get out of here, Mayonetta. Not like that. They would enter through her back, moving around the weird scent of tentacle arms she has. Why does she have tentacle arms? The comment I got said she had appendages, 4 appendages at her back. Didn't specify which kind, so I'm just going with all-purpose tentacles with graspers on them. So just think tentacles with hands at the end. She can stand on them, grab things with them, just all-purpose. As well, the creature in the tube would break up its body into dozens of little worms. Like the muscle fibers making it up would just kind of peel apart into worms. As the worms would enter 682's body, she would begin steaming as her body would begin growing. Why is this the case? Well, simply put it, her quirk allows her to adapt and regenerate from practically anything. Upon this occurring, she is actually capable of choosing the mutation, the adaptation. Well, with a little bit of influence of what is actually happening to her. So, since, 777, aka Izuku, is essentially using her as fuel to fuel its growth, she would begin growing bigger to kind of get around this. As well, her hands would grow scales, and, we cut to the executives, who's just kind of looking out the window, out of the window of the executive room, we're fucked. As the doors to, 682 and 777's containment would burst open. Think like SCP-682 in appearance. Yeah, just a giant crocodile-like lizard with, hair along its back, except it has fucking meat tentacles. It has meat tentacles with mouths on them. Izuku. As well, the creature's back would burst open. 682's back would burst open. As, this would burst out. Except much bigger. As it would begin just zooming about. Spider webs would begin shooting out of its mouths. Numerous mouths. As it would begin Spider-Manning around, eventually climbing up to the boardroom. Its form would shift into that rather reminiscent of a giant lizard, as it would slam its chitinous hardened head into the glass. Chitinous and bone-like. Into the glass, shattering it open. As well, a humanoid form would begin forming, as it would put on a hat. As well, you know how messed up suits look, with the tie still on but untied? And, just kind of that messed up suit kind of vibe? Yeah, that's kind of what Izuku just chooses to look like he's wearing. He's actually buck-ass naked. He's just made muscle fibers over him, which look like clothes. He would put on his hat, which is actually his father's hat. Yeah, it is actually his father's hat. It's a real hat, not muscles. As he would say, "Good day. Good day to all my favorite people in this facility aside from 682. Oh, how I've wanted to skin you alive for months now. Well, no, not months, actually years." This is when Izuku's about 16. 682 looks 17 to 20-ish. Kind of difficult to tell. But she's around that area in, well, appearance and age. As well, Izuku's arm would burst open into a gaping maw. As he would just as said maw. The teeth, as well, his mouth arm thing would just move inside out, making this weird club of teeth and flesh. As Izuku would impale one of the executives with it, as it would begin pulling back, the teeth would begin moving back into the mouth, as it would begin sawing him in the stomach. Like sawing out his stomach in this rhythmic pattern. And as it would begin ripping ripping out his organs, he would begin coughing up blood, as blood would begin splattering everywhere. One of the executives would try and get out through the door, but a tentacle would impale him through the stomach. As well, multiple teeth would form along the tentacle. As it would begin spinning inside of him, he would cough up blood, as his organs proceed to be shredded like a fucking windmill. So, Izuku would look over to 682, who's grown an extra set of legs, and, well, an extra set of eyes. The extra legs have spikes on them, and she's using it to tear people limb from limb. Izuku would look over to her and yell, "Hey, 682, how do you like your people? Flambéed, raw, or medium rare?" And I'm not talking about cooked, I'm talking about tortured. She would just kind of look at him she would just look at him as a mouth would form on her arm as she would say, "Flambéed. Preferably whilst being impaled by, like, a split. But make sure to miss the vital organs, just like the lung and the kidneys need to be impaled." Izuku would just kind of thumbs up, as a tentacle would impale one of the executives through the lung, and then the kidney. Well, one lung, one kidney, so he can still breathe, but barely. As he would proceed to be lifted up and thrown into one of the facility's power reactors, essentially. Well, just this, like, weird pillar of plasma. He doesn't know why it's there. He thinks it's decorative, but he would just kind of roast the executive alive. He would try and scream, but there's too much blood clogging his throat, so he's just squirming whilst being impaled through the lung and the kidney, as blood would be pouring out of his mouth, as, well, he would proceed to be burned alive. Izuku would just kind of chuckle, as he would throw the charred corpse of, well, the executive at 682. She would just kind of catch it in her mouth and chomp on it. Izuku would chuckle, as, well, you know, he would just as well, the light in the room, the red kind of light that's glowing, would just kind of flicker and, well, switch off. As well, every light in the facility would switch off. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because this next bit is so horrifying that YouTube may take down the video. So, yeah. Just imagine the foulest, most violating shit you can imagine. Except for SA. Izuku doesn't do that because, well, if anything, he likes that being done to him by 682. Before you ask, yes. Yes. I'm not gonna say it, but I'm just gonna say characters that would, describe their nights, as you would say. Esdeath. And Mayonetta. Esdeath, Mayonetta, a little bit of Midnight, Whip, yes. And, yeah. Esdeath, Mayonetta, Bayonetta, I think. A bit of Midnight. A bit of Denji. Bit of Makima in there, too. Because why not? But yeah, he's into that. So is 682. So, yep, the lights would switch on as, well, you see one of the executives. Their head is ripped off from their body, except their jaw is still attached to their body, so it's a decapitated head hanging from its intestines, without a jaw, but with a spine still sticking out of it. Another corpse is just in the corner without a head, and blood is pooling everywhere. Izuku's just kind of nibbling on the man's jaw. He's eating a random jaw. We both know which head's jaw it is. But he's just, like, eating a fucking jaw. As another guy, as, like, the top half of a guy would just fall from the ceiling, kind of splattering down. As it would just kind of roll down. Well, gravity would just kind of pull it down from the executive's room onto, like, the basics of the facility. Izuku would just kind of fall over and land in, well, 682's arms, who is now in her, like, normal human type form. If you need an example, you know what, never mind, I'm not giving you an example. So Izuku would just kind of fall down, land in 682's arms. She would cuddle him a bit, while still holding him bridal style, as, like, they would just kind of nuzzle each other. A man's, like, ripped off arm would just kind of drip behind them, or fall off of a ledge behind them, like, off of a military-type truck that's in the ceiling. His arm would just kind of fall down to the ground, veins and, like, pieces of flesh just kind of just kind of tasseling behind it as it hits the ground. As, like, Izuku would just kind of continue to cuddle 682. As the guy with the blonde hair and spiral eye would just kind of slowly, from behind them, walk out of the door of the facility and just kind of jog away. No, he would throw a paper airplane at Izuku. It would hit him in the head as the guy would just run away. Izuku would open the paper airplane and it would read, "Oh damn, son. I did not know you had Riz. Hopefully she's better than Inko. By the way, here's where she lives. Insert coordinates, home address, and new name." Like, there's even a fucking detailed sketch of what she looks like. Izuku would roll up the piece of paper, put it in his flesh suit pocket, as he would just look up into the sky and say, "Thank you, Father, wherever you are." As in the distance, like, a truck would just drive by. As, like, in the distance outside of the facility, through the glass doors, you could just see a truck driving by with, like, a pile of corpses in the back. Like, in the tub/bin thing of a truck. Like, this pile of dismembered corpses in the back of the truck as it would just drive by. Izuku would just kind of, hop down. As he would just kind of realize, wait. He would just kind of look to the sides, where's 682's note? What do you mean, my note? Location of your parents so we can brutally rip them apart? Vengeance is always best served cold. As cold as that guy's corpse. Izuku would just kind of gesture behind him to a guy with his heart, lungs, and intestines ripped out and laying beside him. Yeah, that was a brutal bloodbath. As, a note would just kind of slowly fall down and fall into 682's hands as it would read, "Oh yeah, that reminds me. Insert coordinates. This is where 682's parents are. She knows what they look like. Have fun." There's just kind of a smiley face and thumbs up emoji on it. Izuku would just kind of smile my pops really does look after us. Even though he should be deported in America right now. Huh. Law enforcement's never caught him before. Why should he be deported back? Why was he deported back into America? I know, something about domestic terrorism and federal tax evasion. Oh. I guess we're gonna be doing a lot of that, so I can't really judge. Izuku would just kind of thumbs up yep. Time skip. There would be a knocking on a door. A woman with green hair and, a fancy-ass looking necklace on her. Yep, it's Inko and she's a slut. Well, she's a slut for a rich man. And by slut, I mean wife. Really, she does not... Okay, this entire thing's going off topic. But she is basically just a slut. She's married to a rich guy but still cheats on him. Type beat. She would kind of open the door, and, outside would be a guy wearing a messy suit, fedora, and he has a cane. As, he would snap his fingers, turn around, his eyes are yellow and spiral-like. His eyes are yellow, gold, with a bit of red, and they are spiral. As he would say, "How's it been? How's it been, Ma?" Inko's eyes would go wide, I thought you died. I'm sorry, I hope you know. I don't give a shit if you're sorry. That place was hell. Izuku would just kind of look at his hand as it would slowly lose its skin coloration, as it would start drooping down into a mass of muscle and veins and little tentacles, teeth, and mouths. Also a few eyes in there. It would begin sickly smiling. He would begin smiling like a psychopath, and he would giggle a bit, I'm not Izuku. Well, I'm not your Izuku anymore. That Izuku died. I'm, the new Izuku, as you would say. The 682's bitch Izuku. What do you mean you're a person named 680... What? You don't get it. You've always been boring in the bedroom. I used to see you and Dad doing it a lot, and man, you just laid there like a log. I don't even know how you managed to seduce that, rich guy. With that level of game. I'll have you know, just because your father wasn't satisfying enough does not mean I'm not good in the bedroom. What are you even doing here? Here to kill me? Get revenge? No, I'm here to ruin your life. What do you mean? A set of harpoons would kind of appear on Izuku's hand. Smaller harpoons, as well, appear at his fingertips, as he would kind of diagonally shift them. There's 3 on his 3 main fingers, like middle, pointer, and the one on the other end of the middle finger. As he would fire them, shooting one into her lung, one into her spine, and one into her kidney. Now, you can survive without a lung, without a kidney, and without a spine. It'll just make your life much harder. So that's what he does. He would start giggling as he would say, hey, it's only a few moments before, your rich husband, he would put that in quotation marks, finds out, well, he would put specifically husband in quotation marks. It's only a few moments until your rich husband, quotation marks around husband, finds my case file from the facility, reads, finds it in your cupboard, which I, purposely snuck in and opened and put my file in there. Only a few moments until he sees it, reads it, and realizes how much of a bitch you are. Divorce, federal prison, and you'll be permanently crippled, unable to breathe properly, and unable to circulate blood properly, and clean blood properly. So in other words, your life's gonna suck. How does it feel to be in life support for most of your life? Because, well, that's kind of what my life was like. Yeah, after the first 2 years or so, I was put into life support and, well, permanent life support as my body was literally falling apart. Anyway, I'm doing better now. Goodbye. I hope to see you again on the news. You would just walk away as Inko's on the floor, bleeding out. Multiple, flesh harpoons, jabbing into her spine, lung, and kidney, as in the distance, you could just hear her husband yell, "What?" Her husband would proceed to yell, "What?" as Inko's life would fall apart. Cut to 682. And, well, Izuku. She's standing in front of a door. She takes in a deep breath as Izuku would would grab her by the arm and look at her and say, "Look, don't worry, I'm here. They can't do jack shit to you anymore. Remember that. You're a terrifying, horrific crime against nature. Uh, remember all those rocket launches and guns that you just walked through and horrifically brutalized everyone in your path?" 682 would nod and say, "Yeah, thanks for the compliment. Oh, just thinking about that gets me turned on," Izuku would just say under his breath, as, 682 would boop his nose, "After this, I'll get the collar." Izuku would just start getting all giddy. How I love doing... how I love making rather inappropriate jokes on YouTube that would probably get my channel banned. As well, Izuku's body would break apart into a bunch of worms that would then dig into 682's skin. As well, Izuku would essentially insert himself, not like that, inside of 682. It's her moment, and he doesn't want to interfere. She would knock on the door. Her mother would open it, and she would look at her like, it's you. I just want you to know that I'm so sorry for what happened. I was drunk, and, well, my life wasn't together, and I'm so sorry, and if you hate me, then yeah, I understand, but I just want to be there for you, and I want to help you, and I'm so sorry, and... She would proceed to be stabbed through the neck by 682's long, sharp, claw-like fingers. As 682 would begin giggling, as she would say, "The fact that you're apologizing makes this feel even better. I want you to take a long, good look at what I look like, because, well, I can assure you, I'm not okay." As well, 682 would pour some water over her face. Makeup would kind of go to the ground. As well, we would see the woman would see the fact that 682 has, like, these big-ass dark marks along her eyes, kind of giving her somewhat of a hyena-like appearance. So, yeah, she has these big-ass long marks, and, well, the water would run down her arms, getting off some makeup she put on there, showing her arms also have cracks in them, kind of like Daki, like in the Daki fight. So, yeah. As well, she would rip out her mother's throat, saying in a sickly sweet tone, "I'll just let you bleed out there. Shame you won't be able to call for help." Blood would just kind of drip out of her mother's throat as she would reach in and pull out her tongue, as she would just put it to the side. Still attached to her throat, like her tongue is just out of her throat now, as she would just begin skipping joyfully, like, "I'm gonna go visit Dad." Her father's, like, upstairs. Like, upstairs in their bedroom, he's reading a book. He also, like, got his life together. The two of them, their lives were not the best, but now they got their shit together, and they're looking for 682. They want to tell her name. They want to be a proper family with her. 682 would just kind of skip into the room. Her father's like, "Oh my goodness, it's you. I'm so sorry." Before he could finish, 682 would pounce at incredible speeds and reach into his stomach like it was nothing, as she would rip it out, and she would hang it over the fan, while her father's intestines, she would hang it over the fan, wrap it around his neck, and make y'all know the suicide knot you make? Yeah, she's doing that with his intestines, as she would hoist him up, once again by the intestines, against the bed. Like, intestines wrapped against the bed. She would hoist him up, and he's just choking and gagging as he's coughing up blood. She would just kind of giggle, and she would hear Zuko's voice in her head, like, "I heard they have kids. You want to go, rip them to shreds?" 682 would giggle and say, "No, I don't think so." Waking up to seeing your parents horrifically murdered like this would be more than enough. The trauma, the trauma, the trauma. As 682 would skip to the window and jump the fuck out of it. She would jump out of it like she's fucking Batman. Just, yup. She would just jump out of it. As well, let's just say him and Izuku, well, her and Izuku, had a pretty nice, night, as you would say. You know, a lovely little dog type thing. Don't really know how to say this without YouTube ripping out my throat, which probably makes this funnier. But yeah. So then, I have something to say really quick, then I'm ending off the what if. Now then, in the previous video, the one where I gave everyone a riddle, and they pick, and then whatever what if they want will become my 400 subscriber special. Yeah, someone did it. So what they want is part 2 of What If Deku Had the Quirk Hyper Adaptation. So I'm doing that once I get to 400 subs. Okay? Okay. Also, the answer to the riddle was humanity, for anyone who was curious. Anyway, goodbye, my lovely, lovely audience. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye! Oh, fuck, this was fun.